Right, so we have got Johnny's on the way, but yeah, you two chaps are here in Telford at Wales Comic-Con. How have you found it so far? The day's been a busy day, a fun day, a good day?
Very good. Yeah, very, very good. It's very exciting and a lot of people. And I think this is the 13th year or something for this show. And from the very first year, even before the first year, we talked about me. I wanted to come here. I was invited to come, and one year I was booked to come, and I got pneumonia and in the car on the way to the airport in Los Angeles. I just said, I feel like I'm going to die. I can't go. So, but then I waited till COVID. So
why not? Perfect time to travel.
It's good to be here, and it's lovely. I've seen beautiful people, and oh, thanks, mate. Yeah, no, it's to me. Comic-Cons are thanks, man. And they're a way for actors to see they're a way for us to travel around the world and be a part of different cultures and different experience. But in an interesting way, they're all the same. In the sense that the people that come to Comic-Cons have a very specific spirit, a very similar passion for not just the fandom, but also each other and the patience that people have with these long queues. And they have, there's a respect that people in Comic-Cons have for each other.
Can I just jump in to introduce John Rhys-Davies, ladies and gentlemen.
One of the finest real professional, I didn't need that. One of the finest real professional bookbinders in the United Kingdom. Little known as a bookbinder, but certainly well known to those lovers of Lord of the Rings. And may I also introduce to you a well-known actor. May I also introduce to you a future president of the United States? Don't mock. In a few years' time, he will be standing. First of all, he's got to be president of our union and explain to us what's happening with our blasted health benefit. In public, please. No, perhaps not.
I ran for the board of SAG-AFTRA, our actors union, and I'm now on the national board, and I'm also on the Los Angeles local board. Los Angeles local is the largest of the 25 locals, and I'm now in a position to know what's happening, so I can tell you.
Speak to me later, dear heart. Right. There is a drought in California, and now you know why.
It's not the water we're wasting, it's the plastic we're spending. That's the issue.
Okay.
There was a new deal in the Colorado River. 4 states agreed to... Oh, here, hold on. I thought you were going to jump down
and give each member of the audience one of those things. And I just wanted to see how that would work.
I didn't see any Lokis. I wanted to give water to Loki. Are there any Lokis? I know you're working, but will you give that to Loki for me? Thanks very much. It's good to stay hydrated. It's a long day.
So,
Sorry.
we're all hydrated, it's good. The fellowship, the bond you guys had, how was, I know, we're trying to get it back on track. Like,
Pull us back in, mate. Rescue it.
I'm happy to see it.
May I introduce the dwarf of all dwarfs, John Rhys-Davies.
And I would advise you all to find your own inner dwarf. And when the great crisis of life afflicts you, and when you come to that crossroads in life, not knowing whether to turn left or right or go straight on, ask yourself the question, what would Gimli do? And when you become president, and you get stuck in that position where you don't know whether it's the Chinese or the Russians are going to bomb you first, ask yourself the question, what would Gimli do? Follow that.
What would Gimli do?
He would say, certainty of death, small chance of success. Why don't we negotiate?
I was going to say the humility gap is what we're trying to navigate at the moment, but I like it. I like Gimli's clear-eyed, strong spine approach.
You said that so sibilantly. You said that so sibilantly and succulently, it was almost sweet.
Taken in. He was taken in. We haven't seen each other for a couple of years, so it's nice that you're all here for this. Thanks very much.
Yes, and judging from their response, it's probably as well we don't see each other for another 2 years.
Oh, say it ain't so.
Has anyone got any really interesting questions? What happened to Sean Astin's foot when he dived into the water?
Well, if you dive into the water, it would be your head that was hurt. So I ran into the water, and so it was my foot that was hurt. It got a cut. Did anyone see this in the Lord of the Rings? Yes. The thing is, Billy Boyd wasn't there that day, and I know because no one was laughing at me.
I was there.
In the Alpine Lake at that day? No, you weren't. Not that day.
I was there.
Doing what? Laughing. He's always there. I can hear him just now. Laughing, snickering in his hobbity way. Anyhow, yes, that was a good injury. Made for a great story. I still have the cane that was given to me by Peter Jackson and the crew. The Maori cane. It had a Maori, what do you call it, power shell on the hilt of it, and yeah, and then I went into the special effects bus, and they carved into it some Maori, a Maori phrase for me, and then so
we won't translate it for you right now.
It said, "Watch where you're going." But anyhow, yeah. So I had other injuries. Do you know about my other injuries?
Oh, tell us.
It's very hard. Very hard. And then he teased me after the one. Do you even remember? He doesn't know what I say yet. So in Lothlorien Woods, there was a loom, a very large wooden loom designed by the set decorators, just gorgeous piece of set dressing and log across the top and very heavy. I don't know how many kilos or stones or whatever you guys do, but it was on 4 points, very delicate points, so it looked
elvish. And the wind kicked up and blew it over, and it landed on my head and knocked me out. And when I don't think I was knocked out for very long, but I was definitely knocked out. And when I regained consciousness, I could feel, see, we had the wigs on, and the wigs, they tie rubber bands in your hair and then put, I don't know, bobby pins, whatever they call it, pins through the wig lace, through the rubber band to anchor it down, and then they glue the lace onto your skin so that it doesn't come up, and then they put makeup on that, and we all have these wonderful, hair in the movies. So I could feel the lump, like out of some cartoon, pulling my wig lace up, and it was doing one of these, facelift things. And then I went and got a test, and the MRI, and everything was fine. But then for the rest of the movies, I'd be sitting with Billy Boyd somewhere in a van or something, and he'd go, "Luke." It was funny because he's got a sweet voice, but it did scare me every time he said it. I think it was PTSD. Do you know what that is, PTSD?
Yeah.
Then I won't say
It's got something to do with plastics, hasn't it?
I think so.
wrong.
But yeah, it was a shame that hit you in the head. And then, John, you got hit in the head a film after that, didn't you?
I did.
A wall.
I was doing a piece of rubbish for Disney. Oh, did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. I was doing a classic for Disney and in Croatia, and I went onto the set, and we had a wall there blocking off the thing. It was about as wide as this room is, 12 foot high, and then with 8 feet of those big, heavy Mediterranean ceramic roofs. It was roof tiles, and it blew over on top of me. And it was almost like Loom, because they were setting up a rig behind me, and I suddenly heard that noise, which is monkey talk for something is falling out of the sky. Whoa! And I turned round to see this thing, and they weren't looking at me, they were looking at. And then it hit me and broke my back in 5 places, broke my arm. And, but what was really exciting about that? I'm lying there. I used to play rugby, and you have a scrum fall on top of you from time to time, and you're pretty short of breath for a bit. But there's always a bit of wriggle room. There was no wriggle room. And I'm almost blacking out because I can't get any air into my lungs. And the cast and the crew, the stuntmen, all started lifting this wall up. And I said to them, as soon as I could get in, whatever you do, don't move me, because my back's broken and I think my pelvis is gone. Don't move me until the ambulance gets there. And these guys were holding up this wall for about 55 minutes. And, they were all standing there like that. And every few minutes, somebody would come up to somebody and whisper, and he would go out and the other guy would take his place. And I suddenly realized what our ancestors were doing, thousands of years ago when they were hunting. Something went wrong like that, and suddenly, the clan came together. And they were magnificent. They were just magnificent. And so it was one of those moments when, as a man, I felt really proud to be a man, just watching these damn hard-working guys take the weight because we have to protect this man. It was glorious, glorious.
So, thank God you're all right. And thank God you're here. And
well, no, not really. I can't stand up straight anymore. The damage is such that I'm starting to stoop. I can't really straighten that. I've got a back stretcher though. I get on that, and I can feel it. It's one of these tilting tables, and I can feel my back just pulling out like that. when I get off it,
I'm just picturing being one of your neighbors and seeing the newspapers pile up out in front and be like, we should check on John, make sure he's okay. Where is he? He's hung upside down in his table. He hasn't figured out how to unlock it from it.
Yep.
You know, the movies are dangerous. I mean, we know recently we had a big tragedy in America with a firearm on a set, and you know, I mean, it's a pretty cush life being an actor if you're lucky enough to get work, and you know, there's moments of intense work. But when you look around, you know, my mother was president of the union, and I was raised in a household where this idea of safety in the workplace wasn't a joke. It was something that, you know, someone has to stand up and say, like, hey, you know what, these are rules, these are regulations. And with movies, you put together these incredible, I mean, I think of Star Wars, and when George Lucas would talk about some of the sets they built, and you think, like, you know, he's created this other world. But it's another world, except that it's a bunch of wood on the back of it, you know what I mean? Like, so as an audience, you can transport yourself there, but you have to be very careful.
And because you're not filming in the same place all at the same time, no one really knows exactly what the circumstances are. When the wall blew on top of me, it was because there is a wind in November that sweeps through the old Yugoslavia. They used to call it the Yugo. That day, a train was blown off the tracks in another part of Yugoslavia. You just can't, you know, and we are outsiders. We're coming in. We're shooting something. We're depending on the local crew, and the local crew have just come out of a civil war. You know, there is still a lot of tension there. They're all bound to each other because they served with each other on one side or the other, though in Croatia, only on one side. You know, they haven't got the depth of experience that you would hope that they would have. You know, when you put up a wall, you know that it's acting like a big sail. So you anchor it, and you make sure it is well anchored. They were anchoring things to the fenders of trucks, the bumpers of trucks, if you like, which is fine until somebody wants to start moving the trucks. And little by little, you know, that extra support has all been removed. And then the extraordinary gust of wind comes along, and it bowls the wall over and nearly kills you.
It was amazing in New Zealand for 2 years, the ingenuity of the people, and a lot of them who hadn't worked on a lot of movies before. The films grew; they were so much bigger than even what they had envisioned originally. So we'd show up at a ski field, and they'd find somebody who was driving the machine that grooms the ski field, and he'd go into retirement for 2 years and come and work as a rigger on the movie. And it is amazing that people did not get more seriously hurt on Lord of the Rings, because they were they're just that sort of can-do ingenuity, that they're clever, and so I always appreciate that, and I always was looking to see if, is it enough? Is it enough that they're being clever? Is it enough that they are conscientious human beings, who want to take care of each other? And they in that case, it was enough. They did a good job,
What's the worst experience in terms of risk that you guys have ever been involved with on a movie?
Yeah, probably. Oh, lovely. What have you got? Oh, a nice galaxy. What could be nicer?
And you as well. Share it with you.
Oh, thank you very much.
This is at breakfast.
Thank you. Very kind.
I went to a shop yesterday, and I bought this exact one. I haven't eaten it yet, though.
Yeah, you get two now.
They fit. So go on. Most dangerous for you?
I don't know. I always, I know stupidly it shouldn't be, but I always feel quite safe, really. I always feel like, I kind of put my trust in people, and I trust myself as well. So I always feel a bit, I've been quite lucky. Touch wood. I broke my pinky actually on Lord of the Rings. But that was surfing. I was out surfing, and I don't know if any a surfboard has got a little hole in the back where a rope comes out you attach to your leg. And I grabbed it and my pinky went in the hole, and then a wave came and it broke my pinky. Just when we were in Moria. And the doctor said, you've got to keep this splint on your pinky for like 12 weeks, otherwise you'll have a bent pinky for the rest of your life. And I said, well, I can't have a splint. I'm supposed to be in Middle Earth. And the amazing guys at Weta made me a splint that looked like a pinky. So if you see me in Moria, there's some shots where I grab my sword and my pinky's sticking out. But most of it, I've got it hidden behind my cloak. Nice, eh? But I'm like that for about 12 weeks during Lord of the Rings, with a thick pinky.
I thought you just wanted tea or something.
Just like,
Mumsy Hobbit,
That's-
more tea.
but that's about as bad as it was for me on touch wood.
Yeah, it's funny because now I'm 50 years old.
You are not.
It happened this year.
And it doesn't look a day over 76.
But I find when I walk into a movie set environment, I'm a lot of times one of the more someone with the experience on the set, and a lot of times people are too nervous or intimidated or feeling worried for their job that they don't want to say, ooh, that doesn't seem like something that we should do. So I take it upon myself. Oh, I don't know if that's safe, And oh God, Sean's talking, but there are calculated risks that you take in making movies they're worth it. If you're going to crash a car and you get a stunt driver and you look at what it is, you're going to set somebody on fire or jump out of a building, or you're going to do sword fighting. We did these sword fighting routines, and there is an element of real danger if you get going. So it's fast enough that the swords are really clinking and you're moving them, or you can. But some of that, I don't mind taking a calculated risk, and I just don't like it when there's sloppiness or. If it feels like the people who are making the movie are inconsiderate, then I get my back up. But that doesn't happen very often. Most movies, everybody wants everybody to do well. But I love action. You can do things in movies you can't do in real life, or you shouldn't do in real life. And so it would be a shame to lose all element of risk in filmmaking. You just want it to be sensible. Yeah? Yeah.
The worst one that I ever experienced, I was doing a film in Germany, and it was set in medieval times. Aliens come down, and they're bested by a series of rather odd knights and an old priest and this sort of thing. Now, the alien bombardment was in the charge of a bunch of German guys who'd been working on Stalingrad the week before. I mean, Stalingrad, pretty major picture, and and pretty serious pyrotechnics and explosions and things like that. So we knew we were in safe hands until, in fact, they start. Blowing up these, they've got to create a series of explosions. So they put petrol in polythene jars, gallon or 4-gallon, 5-gallon jars.
Like drums, or like an open-faced drum kind of.
No, these weren't. These were sealed. Right, and then they presumably made a cross or two to help break them. And then they put, on the outside, the adhesive, that wonderful adhesive that you put on a light and it burns for a while. And then they were catapulting these through the air, which was fine, but they didn't actually explode. And we had a bunch of extras there. And we've got these drums of petrol on fire, rolling down towards the,
It didn't go so well in Gladiator when they did it at the beginning of the movie. Those big giant fireballs are coming through and taking out, who are they taking out?
The Germans.
The barbarians, the Visigoths, I don't know. But I know a very dangerous experience that Billy Boyd had that he's blocked from his mind, and it was on Lord of the Rings.
What was it?
Oh, look closely at his face as I tell the story. You'll see the pain return. We were filming one night, many nights, in a parking lot. And they filled up the parking lot with water. And it was freezing, not cold enough. I mean, maybe you'd get a little frozen layer on the top and you'd step in and you'd break it. But we had the Hobbit feet on, and we were standing in, which I was worried about the electric, the wind was high, and I thought, well, if these lights fall in or the electric falls in, we're gonna get electrocuted. That didn't matter to Billy Boyd. He just knew that the Hobbit feet had become popsicleized on his feet.
It's true. And I like to think of myself as quite a hardy man who can take most hardships.
Well, we wouldn't disagree with that
Right?
at all, no.
And I'm from Scotland, and it gets quite cold up there, you might have noticed.
Oh, it does.
And I just couldn't believe the other hobbits weren't complaining. Because I was like, it's freezing. The water got into our feet, which were like sponges, and then like froze. So you were standing on ice. And I thought, I can do like one more take, and then I'm going to have to say, I've got to go home. I can't actually take this. It's the only day in filming anything that I thought, I can't take this anymore. And luckily we stopped on that take, and we got to take the feet off and we put them into hot water. Oh, it was the best feeling ever. It was so good. In that same car park, we also did a scene where Pippin had looked at the Palantir, and so was drawn to it. And everyone had arrived, all the rest of the fellowship, on horseback. And they drop the Palantir when Saruman dies. And I pick it up. And Gandalf sees that, and he sees that there's something, and he takes the Palantir off of me, So we've been doing this scene in that car park in a little sort of swimming pool that they'd made big enough for horses and us. And so that I looked like a hobbit, I was on my knees, up to about that in water, and they're all there. And my sister had came to visit set from Scotland. So she's watching this for about 4 or 5 hours. And we stop for a cup of tea, and I go off and I say, are you enjoying watching the filming? She's like, yeah. And I was like, what? She said, when you're in there getting that ball, all those horses are pissing and shit. I'm up to this in water with horse poo going past.
The fellowship's supposed to have each other's back, but we do occasionally import family just to, Oh my gosh, yeah, that was, I realized that I do well in the heat, relatively well. I can function when it's really hot out, but once it gets to a certain level of cold, I just start complaining.
You remember Helm's Deep with the fire hoses, shooting water over us as rain, and it would enter your chainmail and go down the back of your neck and into your underpants and soak the underpants, then down into the leggings, down into the feet, and that would go on as sheer misery, for the length of the take, and they'd say cut, and then you'd have 20 minutes of slowly drying out and starting, and then the tap would go on again, and it was night after night.
They do a thing, they set the tents up and they put these heaters, the kerosene or whatever you call it, heaters, and they're really hot. So you can't get too close to it or you burn. So this weird sensation of freezing cold and burning hot at the same time. And if you find just the right kind of campfire distance away from it, and you're like, oh, okay, I think this can go. They say, okay, it's time to go. And then you take one step away from it and you get ice cold again. And, there's crew walking around and looking at the actors like, oh, look at the actors, they're so cold. Oh,
and they're in full Arctic gear.
Yeah. I think the Helm's Deep sequence, which took months, right? I think that maybe when I saw Elijah and I were doing, I don't know what it was, Kirathon Gold, we were doing something where it was just the two of us, and Peter Jackson, this was before Zoom and FaceTime, they would film something, capture it on the video assist, bring a clamshell little box that had a TV on it, and then get in a car and drive the car for 2 hours, you know, or put it in a helicopter and get it to where Peter Jackson was, and then open, and he'd say, okay, just wait a minute, you know, hold on, we're gonna finish this take. And Elijah and I, 2 actors, 1 camera, doing a take while hundreds of men are in these rubber clothes that are soaking wet and frozen, and they're literally passing out, and they're all just waiting for Peter to look at it, and, you know, and then Peter would look at the scene and he'd say, can you play it back a little bit? And he'd say, oh yeah, that was pretty good. He's like, can you have those 150 Urukai take like 3 steps to their right? And he'd say, okay, and then they drive all the way back. So I just kept thinking, this Helm's Deep sequence is you know, in Roman times, or in the Greco-Roman, like when there's big sailing battles on the Peloponnesian War or whatever, and there's crew down in the hold, and they're doing the heavy lifting. That's what I thought the crew, the actors, but most importantly the background actors who were dressed as Urukai for those 2 months. They were like in the hold because there was nothing fun about it. I mean, it was probably fun once or twice when they would do they chant together, and they get each other fired up and like, they're ready to kill, you know? And then, you know, the 3rd take, and then the 4th take, and then the 5th take, and they rah, and then who has the energy to rah anymore will rah tomorrow. You know, it's like, that was a real feat of cinema making, you know, before CG was the whole movie. You know, there were some great CG elements in it, but they really had these hundreds of actors doing this work, and it was really impressive. And I forget that you were out there suffering with them.
Oh God, yes. It's that feeling of the cold rain trickling in through the chainmail and running down your back, and it's ice cold, you know. And it gets down to your trousers, and then you're under.
All right, we know where it goes. He's going to describe the full length of the traveling water down the backside. Well, we got it.
Agony, miserable.
Should we take an actual question from the people that showed up?
Yeah, we've been here for 3 hours and nobody's asked a question.
We've been talking the whole time. That's the way I roll.
It's just like a nice, almost like voyeuristic of just like looking at you 3 having a conversation and catching up, really. But we've got time for a few questions from the crowd then.
18 months of living in my house with my beautiful wife and our 3 daughters and not going out because of COVID. And now I'm sat between 2 people who I love desperately. And I know this one over here. Yeah. I'll be in hospital. John.
Oh, you're such a hypochondriac.
That's true. Maybe a paranoiac. No, I don't know.
Well, that too, but any questions? All right then, well, jolly nice, lovely to see you.
I'm being waved at to wrap things up. I think we could maybe do one.
We've got one right here. This beautiful woman with that tall dwarf next to him. Yes, go ahead, yeah.
Do you have a favourite line that you remember that you delivered, whether it's a funny line or a dramatic line?
Me and Dom were up a tree for a long time, and
I am no tree, I am an ant.
just sitting in his branches we were, and we were trying to do this scene where we're trying to convince Treebeard to come with us and help us in the war, but you know the Ents are old and have seen wars come and go and different leaders, and you know. And they're just like, just let things happen. They'll work out, you know. But for us, for hobbits who live for a short amount of time, it's very important. And we were changing the lines, and I think I kind of made up a line that I thought Pippin might say, which was to convince Treebeard to turn south, and he says, well, that's where the enemy are, why would we do that? And Pippin says, the closer we are to danger, the further we are from harm. And it was such a weird thing to say that he's like, yeah, even an old tent, it's like, there might be some wisdom in there. And I quite enjoyed that because I felt like at that moment I kind of understood the Tooks and understood Pippin and what Pippin might say to this old Ent that he had grown to love. You know, I think Pippin really does, and there's some Tookish knowledge in there, I think. So I quite like that line.
You know, my father, John Astin, is a well-known American actor. He's played Gomez, close. Yes. Oh my God, it's getting that bad.
Right.
Gomez Adams in the original Addams Family television show, and he was also the Riddler, the second of 3 or 4 Riddlers after Frank Gorshin in the Batman television show. Anyhow, he is an actual Ent. He's 91 now, and you think very carefully before saying or asking anything, because he's going to give you an answer, and he takes his sweet time, and it's like music. You don't know how much longer you have. I mean, he's in great health and everything, but I always felt like the Ents, that he was an Ent. So when you started doing the voice of Treebeard, I felt like you were depicting my father. To answer your question, so, Samwise Gamgee has given a half dozen of the greatest lines of dialogue that any actor's ever been lucky enough to say out loud. There's some good left in this world, Mr. Frodo, and it's worth fighting for. With Gandalf, don't turn me into anything unnatural. There's the potatoes. Oh my God, I'm getting famous in potatoes. Boil up mashed potatoes. Boil up mashed. I don't know. I need to meet the person who did that. Is it a meme who did that thing? It was a meme before memes were memes. If I'm, boil up mashed. I'm like, my God. Nope, he's going to play it now. Oh, there it is. So, but there's 2 lines of dialogue from Lord of the Rings that are on my mind. One that aren't Sam, but one is from Helm's Deep. And I cry every single time when I see it. It's when Haldir arrives, and he says, "We've come to honor the alliance of elves and men." And then the other one is, and it was the last thing we filmed, but my last shot I filmed. I don't know if you did more after that, but Viggo says, "Oh, my friends." It's at the end of the trilogy, and we bow because the king and the queen are there. And he says, "Oh, my friends, you bow for no one." Yeah.
Well, what my line sticks in mind, we were doing some green screen and doing some jumping and thing to thing, and I was trying to act, you see, so I jump and I totter like that, and instinctively Orlando reaches out to grab me, to steady me, and he grabs the beard. And I grab his hand and in character say, "Not the beard!"
And with that, I think I'm sorry, guys, I'm being waved at frantically from the side. Sorry, Charlie. Ladies and gentlemen, please make some noise. John Rhys-Davies, Sean Astin.
Thank you all.